Hi, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So, today we are going to go ahead and start with the next chapter. And this is going to go ahead and talk about functions of one variable, an introduction. Functions of one variable, introduction. In order to understand functions of one variable, beta, pehle we need to understand what is a function. एक फंक्शन क्या होता है? What is called as a function? So when we have one variable depending on other variable, then we call it as a function. Example, your happiness depends on your pocket money. आपकी खुशी आपकी पॉकेट मनी पे डिपेंडेंट है. सो वी कैन से हैप्पीनेस किस पे डिपेंडेंट है बेटा? पॉकेट मनी पे. So we can say happiness is a function of pocket money. Happiness is a function of pocket money because it is dependent. वो dependent है pocket money पे. ठीक है. Similarly, जैसे मैं बोलूं your parents happiness किस पे dependent हो सकती है बच्चे? It can be dependent on your marks. So it is a function of marks obtained by children. समझे? So marks obtained is an independent variable. बट ये पेरेंट्स का जो हैप्पीनेस है इट इज अ डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल. एंड वो किस पे डिपेंड कर रहा है? ऑन मार्क्स ऑफ चिल्ड्रन. सो दिस इज अ डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल एंड दिस इज एन इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल. ठीक है. सिमिलरली बेटा हम कुछ इक्वेशन देखते हैं. सो इक्वेशन नंबर 1, एरिया ऑफ अ सर्कल. अब एरिया ऑफ सर्कल क्या होता है? इट इज ए इज इक्वल टू पाई आर स्क्वायर. बेटा पाई इज अ कांस्टेंट. पाई का वैल्यू होता है 22/7. सो एरिया किस पे डिपेंड करता है? ऑन आर. व्हाट इज आर? आर इज रेडियस ऑफ द सर्कल. So we can go ahead and in this beta we can say that area is a function of radius of circle. Area is a function of the radius of the circle. Clear हुआ ये बात? ठीक है. Now let us go ahead and let us try to take one more equation. So suppose I want to go ahead and I want to convert I want the conversion between centigrade and Fahrenheit. ठीक है. Equation number 2 बेटा. तो यहां पे हम बोल रहे हैं that centigrade is equal to 5/9 Fahrenheit minus 32. ठीक है. C क्या है? टेम्परेचर इन सेंटीग्रेड या सेल्सियस. F क्या है? टेम्परेचर इन फ़ारेनहाइट. तो अब ये क्या आएगा? इट विल बी डिपेंडेंट ऑन व्हाट वैल्यू आई एम पुटिंग हियर. मैं यहाँ पे फ़ारेनहाइट में क्या वैल्यू प्लग कर रही हूं, व्हाट वैल्यू आई एम प्लगिंग इन फ़ारेनहाइट, उस पर डिपेंड करेगा कि सेल्सियस में क्या वैल्यू आएगा. सो सेल्सियस टेम्परेचर It is a function of the Fahrenheit temperature. वो Fahrenheit के temperature पे dependent है. It is dependent on Fahrenheit. एक और example लेते हैं. Another example. बेटा जैसे consumption. अब how much a person consumes ये किस पे depend करेगा? It will depend on the income of people. So it is a function of disposable income. मतलब tax देने के बाद after you have given the tax, how much income you are left up with, that is called as disposable income. उसी को disposable income बोलते हैं. Income after paying tax, after getting subsidies. Income at your disposal, कितना पैसा आप खर्च कर सकते हो. So we are saying consumption is a function of disposable income. ठीक है, ठीक है बेटा. Now for example, savings. ये भी इनकम पे डिपेंडेंट है. इट इज ऑल्सो अ फंक्शन ऑफ इनकम. समझ रहे हो? सो वी व्हाट इज अ फंक्शन? अ फंक्शन इज एनीथिंग वेयर वी हैव एन इंडिपेंडेंट एंड अ डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल. अब हम बोलते हैं कि किसी भी कंट्री का जीडीपी किस पे डिपेंडेंट है? इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द इन्वेस्टमेंट इन द कंट्री. जिस कंट्री में इन्वेस्टमेंट ज्यादा होगी, whichever country will have more investment, it will have more GDP. Whichever country will have less investment, it will have less GDP. So investment affects the GDP of the country. So GDP कैसे लिख सकते हैं हम इसे? GDP is a function of investment. GDP is a function of investment. What are the ways to represent any function? हम function को कैसे कैसे represent कर सकते हैं? Right, beta? So the first method to represent any function, it is mathematical method. Mathematical. जैसे if I say y is equal to x square, so y is dependent on the value of x. Y x के value पर dependent है. You give some value of x, you will get some value of y. You give another value of x, you will get another value of y. So y depends on the value of x. So I have represented it using a mathematical equation. मैंने इसको एक mathematical equation से represent कर दिया. That's the first way. The second way can be through a table. Representation through a table. जैसे अगर मुझे ये represent करना है, if I want to represent that consumption is a function of year as the time passes, जैसे जैसे समय बीतता है लोगों का consumption खुद से बढ़ जाता है. The consumption by people increases. Consumption is a function of year. I want to represent this. As time passes, consumption automatically increases. So I can show that using a table. कैसे टेबल से represent कर सकते हैं बच्चे? I can take year here and I can take personal consumption here. ठीक है? And I can start writing that in 1985, consumption in economy was $2667.4 billion. This is in billion dollars. है ना? फिर in 1986, consumption was $2850.6 billion. In 1987, consumption was $3052.2 billion. In 1988, consumption was $3523.1 billion. In 1990, consumption was $3748.4 billion. 1991, consumption ये था. So I have through the table, इस table के through मैं ये शो कर रही हूं that as I progress through the years, जैसे जैसे टाइम बीत रहा है, the consumption is also increasing, right? So consumption is a function of year. और कैसे दिखा रहे हैं हम? How are we showing this? We are showing this through one table. ठीक है? Third way. It can be through a graph, beta. Okay. For example, economics mein there is a graph which is called as Laffer curve. Okay. This was given by an economist called as Arthur Laffer. Okay. Now let's try to understand this thing. This Laffer curve, beta, it is a important part of supply side economics. ठीक है? अब क्या कहता है यार ये Laffer curve? So Laffer curve goes ahead and says that as the tax rate increases, suppose government सिर्फ 10% tax दे रही है, तो it will collect a particular tax revenue, वो कुछ tax revenue collect करेगी. फिर गवर्नमेंट ने टैक्स रेट इंक्रीज किया, 20% टैक्स रेट कर दिया, इट विल कलेक्ट मोर टैक्स रेवेन्यू. बट सपोज गवर्नमेंट ने 100% टैक्स रेट कर दिया. इफ द गवर्नमेंट मेक्स 100% टैक्स रेट, तो इफ आई हैव टू अर्न मनी टू गिव इट टू द गवर्नमेंट, अगर मैं पैसा कमा ही इसलिए रही हूं कि मैं गवर्नमेंट को दे दूं, इफ ऑल 100% ऑफ माई इनकम इज टैक्स्ड, then will I go ahead and will I earn money? Will I work? No, मैं काम ही नहीं करूंगी. अगर सारा का सारा इनकम ही टैक्स में जाना है, if 100% of the income is taxed, I will not work. If I don't work, will government earn any revenue? No. So if the government has 100% tax rate, then the tax revenue collected will be zero. कोई काम ही नहीं करना चाहेगा. Nobody will want to work. And if the government is having 0% tax rate, then also government will not collect any tax. So there will be some optimal tax rate. कोई एक ऐसा tax rate होगा at which your tax revenue will be maximum. But after that, your tax will start decreasing. Revenue will start decreasing. माने अगर government 90% भी tax लगाती है, so you earn 100 rupees and you pay 90 as tax. सिर्फ 10 रुपए earn कर रहे हो. You're only earning 10 rupees. Will you work? You will say, nah, I don't want to work. Very few people will work. So when there is a very high tax rate, revenue collected is low because less people will be working. कम लोग काम करेंगे अगर बहुत high tax rate है. So usually, Laffer suggested that the Laffer curve will go ahead and will look something like this. Initially, जैसे जैसे आप टैक्स रेट बढ़ाओगे, टैक्स रेवेन्यू विल इंक्रीज. सो इनिशियली as tax rate increases, government will collect more tax revenue. ज्यादा पैसा कमाएगी गवर्नमेंट. गवर्नमेंट will earn more tax. But after a certain tax rate, increasing tax rate decreases tax revenue. So if I keep increasing the tax rate, tax revenue will decrease. Clear? So this is your theory, beta. This is the third way in which we can go ahead and we can show the functions, है ना? तो हमने क्या पढ़ा, कैसे पढ़ा हमने कि functions में हम क्या कर रहे हैं? There are three ways to represent function. Either a mathematical equation, या आप equation से दिखा दो, or you can go ahead and you can represent it using a graph or a table. Three ways to represent a function. क्या है function? In a function, there is an independent variable, there is a dependent variable, one is dependent on the other. Clear? ठीक है बेटा. Now let us talk about let us talk about something which is known as domain of the function. पहले हम definition लिख लेते हैं बच्चे. Please write the definition with me. A function of a real variable x with domain D is a rule that assigns unique real number to each x in D. First, let's write the definition. क्या बोल रहे हैं हम? A function of a real number x with domain D is a rule that assigns unique real number to each x in D. सबसे पहले इसमें हम जो वर्ड पे फोकस करेंगे, the word I will be focusing on, that is called as rule. इस पे पहले फोकस किया जाए. What is a rule? A rule is anything which can be written in words, या तो उसे words में लिख दो, or in terms of a formula, or in terms of a curve or a graph, or in terms of a table. Rule ऐसी कोई भी चीज है which can be written in word, formula, graph or table. ठीक है, ये rule का मतलब है. Which means, जैसे you play Uno बेटा, Uno में we go ahead and we say that the rule of this game is कि अगर आपको एक ऐसा कोई कार्ड आ जाए, रिवर्स कार्ड आ जाए, तो the chain will reverse. So we have stated that in words. हमने words में state कर दिया. We can also go ahead and state a rule in terms of some formula, that it is a rule that you will convert Fahrenheit and Celsius in this way. ये एक रूल है कि आप सेल्सियस में अगर कन्वर्ट कर रहे हो फ़ारेनहाइट से, तो आप ये फॉर्मूला यूज करोगे. सो व्हेन यू गिव अ फॉर्मूला, गिविंग अ फॉर्मूला इज आल्सो रूल. व्हेन यू शो थ्रू अ ग्राफ, showing through a graph is also a rule. When you show through a table, showing through a table is also a rule. So rule is used, the word rule is used in very broad sense. Rule को हम बहुत ही broad sense में use कर रहे हैं. पहली बात समझो. Second thing is, that's the first thing. The second thing is that whenever we talk or represent any function, जब भी हमें किसी function को represent करना है, it is represented through letter names. It is represented through letter names. माने I can represent function using small f, small g, capital F, or like this. 5. This all represents function. ये सब कुछ function को represent कर रहा है. So when I say f of x, it means that it is a function of x. That means मैं कुछ value, you plug in some value of x and you get some answer. आप x का कुछ value डालो, you plug some value of x and you will go ahead and you will get some answer in return. आपको answer मिलेगा कुछ return में. For example, fx is equal to x plus 5. So if I will put x as 1 in this function, तो मतलब मैं x की जगह 1 plug in कर रही हूँ. So I will get 1 plus 5, that means 6. If I plug in x as 2 in this function, माने instead of x I am putting 2 beta. So 2 plus 5, which means 7. If I plug in x as 3 in this function, so I'm plugging 3 plus 5, that means 8. If I plug in x equal to 4 in this function, so 4 plus 5, that means 9. समझे? So when we plug some value in x, we get x is my input. X is my input. ये input है. X is my input. And this is my output. This answer is my output. ठीक है? So I plug in some input and I get some output as the answer. Clear? ठीक है बेटा. Now, the question is, what inputs can we put? X का क्या वैल्यू डाल सकते हैं? Should I get put x as 1? Can I put x as 5? Can I put x as 10? So वो हमें पता चलना चाहिए पहले. We should know what inputs we can put. And that is called as domain of x. And we are representing this domain as D. देखो, read it out. A function of real variable x. So function किसका function है? वो x का function है. X का domain क्या है? D. Right? Is a rule that assigns unique real number to each x in D. तो हम क्या कर रहे हैं? When we are putting x from the domain, we are getting some answer of the function. What is domain? Domain is defining which values x can take. तो जैसे अगर मैं बोल दूं that x can take values in first 10 natural numbers. X can take values in first 10 natural numbers. So what will be domain beta? From 1 to 10. First 10 natural numbers. X सिर्फ इनके अंदर का ही वैल्यू ले सकता है. It can only take values in this. समझ रहे हो? So the domain of X, what values X can take will be from 1 to 10. Right? So this is what is the meaning of the domain. Clear? ठीक है. So now let us try to again visit what the definition is saying. So definition is going ahead and saying that I am creating a function of x. Suppose ये हो गया y. So what will I read? इसको कैसे पढ़ेंगे हम? How do we read this statement बेटा? We are saying that y is a function of x. y x का function है. X is an independent variable. X is independent, but Y is dependent on the value of X. X तो independent है, but Y is dependent on the value of X. Beta, X can also be called as exogenous variable. And Y can be called as endogenous variable. ठीक है? Examples ले लेते हैं function के. Example. Y is equal to 8x square plus 3x plus 2. That means Y is dependent on the value of X. जब आप X को 1 डालोगे, you will get one particular Y. When you will put X as 2, you will get a different Y. So here you will get 8 plus 3 plus 2, 13. Here you will get 2 into 2, 4. 32 plus 3 into 2, 6 plus 2, 40. So Y depends on what value of X we have chosen. हमने X का क्या value choose किया है, उस पे depend करेगा कि Y क्या आएगा. Right? So that is the first example. ठीक है बेटा, एक और example लेते हैं. So suppose I give you a rule to define function. Rule to define function. क्या rule है? Assign to any number the third power of that number. Assign to any number the third power of that number. माने whenever we take any number, हम कोई भी number लें x and we find its third power to the power 3 कर दें, that should give us a new number. उससे हमें एक नया number मिल जाना चाहिए. It should give us a new number. We take the number to be a and we give it third power, that will give us a new number. We can take the number to be a plus 1. कुछ भी हो सकता है वो. Anything. We raise it to third power. That will be giving us our new number. Assign to any number the third power of that number. So you take any number. X, a plus 1, a plus 5, a minus 8. कुछ भी लो. Let the number be 3x. Then you assign its third power. That will be the new number. समझ रहे हो? This is how this question has to be explained. This is how we are saying that, that the function is defined. ये rule यहाँ पे दिया गया है. Assign to any number the third power of the number. ठीक है? तो जैसे example पहला ले लेते हैं. So what will happen in this case, beta? When x will be 0, y will be 0 to the power 3. That means 0. When beta x will be 1, y will be 1 to the power 3. That means 1. But when x will be 2, y will be 2 to the power 3. 8. When x will be 3, y will be 3 to the power 3. 27. So assign to any number the cube of that. ऐसे ही a को लेके देख लो यहाँ पे. Right? So suppose here, when a will be 0 beta, y will be 0 plus 1 to the power 3, 1 cube. Then when a will be 1, y will be 1 plus 1 to the power 3, 2 into 2, 4 into 2, 8. ठीक है? मेरा number क्या है यहाँ पे? My number is a plus 1. Then I am taking its cube. Number is a plus 1, not a. Keep in mind. अच्छा, then many people have this confusion और इस चीज को हम आज ही permanently we will clear it out, beta. So the confusion that students have here is that f of a plus 1, जैसे suppose we take, देखो ध्यान से समझो, suppose my function is x cube, then beta f of a plus 1 is not equal to a cube plus 1. ध्यान से समझना. f of a plus 1 is not a cube plus 1. दो अलग बातें हैं. When we are saying f of a plus 1, माने यहां पर x का वैल्यू a plus 1 है. X has to be replaced with a plus 1. So this will mean a plus 1 to the power 3. Okay. And when we are writing a cube plus 1, माने here instead of x मैंने a लिखा होगा and then मैंने plus 1 बाद में किया होगा. So just see here, if instead of x I write a, I will get a cube and then I am adding 1 to it. Understanding? So f of a plus 1 is not equal to a cube plus 1. a cube plus 1 है f of a plus 1. x की जगह instead of x I am replacing a. So it is a की जगह पे, x की जगह पे a cube and then I have added 1 to it. But f of a plus 1 means instead of x I am replacing it with a plus 1. So it is a plus 1 whole cube. Is this making sense? Acha, now try to understand another thing. Suppose I ask you, beta, find the volume of a cube. So volume of a cube. This is a cube. Length, breadth, height equal. Length is also x, breadth is also x, and height is also x. तो अगर हम volume of cube निकालें, if we try to find the volume of cube, it will be length into breadth into height. That means the volume of cube can be written as x cube. अब case 1 beta. Suppose I tell you that in this the length of cube is equal to height of cube is equal to breadth of cube, and that is equal to a. Length, breadth and height are a. तो volume क्या हो जाएगा बच्चे? Instead of x, I will put a. So it will be a cube. It will be a cube. माने that if I draw a cube, अगर मैं एक cube को plot करती हूँ, then I will go ahead and I will notice that its length, breadth and height, this is same only, and height are all a. है ना? Now suppose I ask you that find the volume of the cube जिसका length, breadth and height has been increased by 1. मतलब ये थोड़ा enlarged हो गया है. So if I were to go ahead and pick up on this cube, if I were to go ahead and I were to pick up on this cube, मैं इसी cube को पकड़ती हूँ. So it would have meant that now I am going to increase this. ये थोड़ा enlarge हो गया. This is bigger now, a plus 1. This is also bigger now, a plus 1. This is also bigger now, a plus 1. So everything is a bit bigger now. Are you understanding this thing? Each of them. So instead of this, ये a था. Now the bigger one is a plus 1. This is a plus 1. This is a plus 1. Length, breadth, height, तीनों ही a plus 1. Okay, both have, all three have increased by 1. So what will be volume beta now? Instead of x, I will put a plus 1. Length is also a plus 1. Breadth is also a plus 1. And height is also a plus 1. So when we are saying कि x की जगह हमने a plus 1 डाला, this means that if I think this like this, it means that all length, breadth and height have increased by 1. I am talking about a bigger cube. मेरा cube ही बढ़ गया है. But point number 3 beta. Suppose I ask you what is a cube plus 1. माने of the old cube, जो भी old cube का volume आया था, I am just adding 1 to it. Old cube volume plus 1. So both are not same thing. दोनों चीजें बराबर नहीं हो सकती ना. Here length, breadth and height have increased by 1. So I'm talking about a bigger cube. This is f of a plus 1. And this part that I am talking here, जो हम इसका नीचे वाला बात कर रहे हैं, that is not this. That is old volume, but plus 1. Right? So this is f of a plus 1. So both things are not same. दोनों ही चीजों का जो मतलब है, that is very, very different. Both things are different. Is this clear better? ठीक है. So we will stop here for today. Then we will go in the next class and we will also talk about domain and range. Okay, beta. Thank you.